The Catwalk Podcast showcases the greatest of the people of the Permian Basin through partnering and conversation with high-level leaders, social entrepreneurs, nonprofit leadership, and industry executives.
Well, welcome back, boys and girls, to another broadcast excellent day of The Catwalk. I would be your host, Jay Whitlow. At the helm, running the controls as always, is my good friend Chris Stegall. What's up, Chris?
Not a lot. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, man, did you watch the Super Bowl?
I watched the Nickelodeon broadcast of the Super Bowl.
There's a Nickelodeon broadcast of the Super Bowl. What's that all about?
So it's basically set in Bikini Bottom where SpongeBob is.
Yeah.
And so they had SpongeBob and Patrick doing commentary, more color, but
Okay.
and then they had a bunch of CGI overlay. So like if they scored, slime was sprayed all over the end zone, stuff like that.
Okay.
So it was just kind of cute and fun.
Did that make it more interesting to watch?
I enjoyed it a lot. I was like, I'm not a big football guy.
Yeah.
So the Super Bowl is just a normal game for me.
What it is, yeah.
Right. And so adding that layer of just kind of something to laugh at while you're watching it made it a little more enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, I know we talked a little bit before we started recording today. You took your car in to get the oil changed.
I did.
Do you not change your own oil?
No, I don't have the space to do that. And even like my wife went to college for auto tech and diesel tech.
Right.
But we just don't have the space for it. And I also think there's a rule in our lease that says we can't do oil changes on the property.
Wait, you can't do oil changes at the apartment or the complex where you live?
Right, in the townhome complex that we live in.
Yeah, because you don't need a whole lot of space. I mean, you can come to my house and we can do it in the backyard.
Yeah, it's just I already pay to have free oil changes, tire rotations, stuff like that. Like it's not free, but I paid for it in the loan.
So you're one of those elite people who already has free oil change, tire rotation, and all that for like the life of your car. Is that right?
No, I don't know if it's the live. I'd have to look back at it, but it was only an extra like $300.
Yeah.
So super cheap. It was cheaper than if I had paid for it at a like Take 5 or something.
Right.
Well,
and that's what I do. I don't do the Take 5, but I go to some of those Jiffy places, the Quick Lubes, Kent Quicks, some of those. But is there a bigger time waste than sitting and waiting for your oil to be changed?
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
And so if you go to like where I go, like I'm not calling anybody out, but like
like I just did.
Yeah, like
free advertisement.
Where I go, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how early in the day you go.
Oh wow!
So like I dropped mine off at 7:30 this morning, and they said it was done in about 40 minutes, but I had to come straight to work, so I went and picked it up during lunch. So,
well, wait a minute. You didn't have the car,
right?
How did you get here?
Uber.
Okay, wait a minute. You took Uber from the Jiffy Lube place?
No, from my car dealership.
From your car dealer. Okay, so you took Uber from your car dealership out here, and then Uber came and picked you up and took you back?
Yeah.
Is Uber a thing out here in Midland?
Yeah, it's a Uber and Lyft.
What's the quality of Uber out here in Midland?
Once again, I'm not calling anybody out, but when I got picked up to be brought to work, it said so-and-so was picking me up in a Toyota Tacoma, like a 2018 model,
right?
Something like that. And he showed up in a 2004 Jeep.
They picked you up in a Jeep?
Yeah, in a different car completely than it was said it was.
Okay.
And the dude didn't speak any English. And so...
You think it was legit?
Well, I'm sure he was legit. His face was on the app, but he was smoking a cigarette while driving me to work.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very Midland.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, that's very Midland. I don't know if I would trust an Uber or Lyft in the Permian Basin. I just don't know. Now, maybe I'm wrong in that. And maybe you're out there and you're like, that's how I do my living and that's what I do, and you can help us learn this. But I barely trust it in the Metroplex. I can't imagine trusting it and using it out here.
I've used it all over the country, and I've never really had a major problem. The one thing, when I was in Atlanta for work for a little while, I had to take an Uber from the hotel to the broadcast area that we were at, and no one, it was in the middle of the summer, no one used the air conditioning in their Ubers because it was...
Oh, they would fit in.
They would save gas by not using the AC. It was miserable.
Yeah, they would fit in with me because I don't have heater, and probably this summer I won't have an AC in my vehicle. So,
well, if we're lucky, you won't have a car altogether because somebody will help me burn it.
Somebody will help you burn it. I just don't know if I would. Now, here's the thing. You didn't call me
Nope.
to come pick you up because I wouldn't have come pick you up.
Right.
So it was best that you did Uber because at least you got picked up.
Yeah.
But I think our guest that we're going to have today would probably come pick me up
No.
if I needed some help.
No one's going to come pick you up.
No one's going to come pick me up because I know our guest today, and she's quality. And I don't know if she's ever done Uber. Maybe we can ask her if she has been an Uber driver or if she's taken Uber. I think it would be great. But let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. We have on the Catwalk Show, we're very honored to have Tatum Hubbard. Tatum is currently the Chief of Staff and Vice President of Communications and Marketing at the University of Texas, Permian Basin. She graduated from the University of Texas at Arlington with a degree in political science and communications. Tatum is responsible for branding, marketing, messaging, internal and external communications at UTPB. During her tenure there, she has organized and planned a presidential investiture, launched a new website, managed digital and traditional marketing campaigns, improved signage across the campus, and led the branding efforts in nearly 2 new constructed academic buildings. Tatum has anchored the 6 and 10 o'clock news. That's probably where she's most popular and known from. But she did that for CBS 7 for 18 years before beginning her career in higher education. Tatum has won numerous Associated Press awards for reporting, was named by Best Anchor by the Texas Associated of Press Broadcasters. Tatum was named as a Community Statesman for Media by the Heritage of the Odessa Foundation, and she received the Texas Media Award from the American Cancer Society for her work that she did following her mom's courageous battle with breast cancer. Tatum has served as Miss Texas in 1989. I know we're going to talk to her about that. She competed in the Miss America Pageant as well. And she and her husband, Brad, have 2 beautiful daughters, and they live in Odessa. So after the break, please enjoy my conversation with Tatum Hubbard.
Elevate your operation with Performance Chemical Company, the pioneers in redefining chemical solutions for the oil and gas industry in the Permian Basin. Unveiling groundbreaking ideas since 2017, our dry chemistry plant stands as a testament to innovation. Our products and services revolutionize water treatment, production, midstream, and saltwater disposals. We're your strategic partners in optimizing investments, slashing operating expenses. Performance Chemical Company. How you get there matters.
Well, welcome to the Catwalk, and I am so excited about this conversation. I've been excited about this for a while, so please welcome my very special guest, Tatum Hubbard. Tatum, welcome to the Catwalk.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. I've been excited about this for some time. The first question I've got to ask you, though, is because when we first met, I don't know if you remember where we met.
We met at church.
At Crossroads.
I knew it was church, but
yeah,
you reminded me it was a skit, which I can't believe I let Griff Jones talk me into doing a skit. I am not an actress, so that's odd to me. But
well, it's another thing in your bio. I've already read your bio to everyone, so we didn't include that on there. But if you remember, Griff was pastoring at Crossroads.
Sure.
We had just moved into town and met you in a Bible study, a small group. And somebody got the great idea that we would be good together in a skit. for sermon illustration. And the whole point was, whatever the message topic was, we were like the on-stage husband and wife, and I was always the dumb one.
Wrong.
And the wrong one, and you were always the right one and the smart one. And I always was like, walked away from those going, oh my gosh, she is just going to rip me to pieces here. But that's how we met. So we were like a little small sitcom.
Well, what I remember about you when I very first met and knew you was just how insightful you were. You were clearly really good at bringing people along with the message. So
That's
not
changed
as our pastor,
a lot,
but
so.
you sort of served in that role. Yeah.
I love doing that. Thank you. That's very kind of you saying that. Okay, so before we begin, because we want to hear your story.
Okay.
I read your bio, shared it with
I hope
with
it was
everyone.
the short one.
It was the long version.
Oh,
I just
no.
went on and on and on about all the accolades you've done. But I gotta know, because when I first met you, I knew you as Hubbard.
Yeah.
But when I see you around town, it's Fulbright. So help me understand, is it Hubbard Fulbright with a dash? Is it Hubbard when you're around certain people? Is your husband's name Hubbard? Or, I mean, how does that work?
Okay. So I'm perpetually in an identity crisis, really. My maiden name is Tatum Hubbard. So I grew up here as Tatum Hubbard. When I started in the news business, I wasn't married. Brad and I were engaged, but I wasn't
Right.
married yet. So I started as Tatum Hubbard. And then we got married about 9 months later. And, I didn't want to really change my name at that point. I'd already established myself as
Right.
Hubbard. So I was just Tatum Hubbard. And then when we got married, I did lose my middle name. And so my actual legal name is Tatum Hubbard Fulbright.
Okay, perfect.
But when our girls were born, I wanted them to have the same name as their mother. So I sort of say professionally I'm Hubbard and personally I'm Fulbright. But I'm always really confused about which name to use. When I go to the dry cleaners, I'm like, Tatum Fulbright? Let's
Tatum
try
something,
that. I
yeah.
don't know. At the doctor's office, I mean, it can be complicated. But I wanted my girls to have that connection.
If you said Fulbright
Yes.
and people knew you as Hubbard, do they look at you weird and go, wait, that's not right? Or
People who don't know me for sure, but
say that.
our closer friends now call Brad Mr. Hubbard.
Oh, do they?
He is
Okay.
never Hubbard, but that's
I'm
kind
gonna
of the
do that.
shtick. It's the
Yeah.
joke. I've emceed an event before where I've been at the head table and it was Tatum Hubbard and Brad Hubbard. It literally said Brad.
That's
Hubbard,
awesome.
not his name. Just-
That's awesome. That's awesome. I bet he loves that. Well, before we get into where you're currently at University of Texas Permian Basin, there is a lot before that. So kind of walk me through, you went to UT Arlington.
Yes.
So from that point to, I guess the next big thing was Miss Texas, right? Before you got to CBS 7?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
that's
walk
the
me
slow
through that journey of college to pageant season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I graduated from high school, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I mean, my parents are not college graduates, so we talked a lot about going to college, but we really didn't have a plan for that. I mean, not an on paper, here's how you do it, here's how you apply, here's how you get in. So, all my friends knew exactly what they were going to do. I'm going to Tech or I'm going to Texas or wherever. I didn't really know. And so I stayed home and went to, I was born and reared in Odessa. So I stayed home, went to Odessa College, and I won my first Miss Texas preliminary there. I was Miss West Texas. Went to Miss Texas that year, did not win, didn't even place, barely showed up, but enjoyed the process. And so I decided to do Miss Texas again, and I ended up winning Miss Arlington. And so that's when I won a scholarship to the University of Texas at Arlington and ended up moving to Arlington to live with my pageant director. So that's, the only really way I was able to find, I think, the courage and sort of the navigational ability to take that next step. Went to Arlington, enrolled in school there, competed at Miss Texas the second year, did not win, did not even place. Took a year off, decided I didn't want to do pageants anymore. They were stupid. Sort of reflected on it and thought, my mom really thought, you didn't really work very hard toward this goal. I think you can do better. I always wanted to be in the top 10. I never really wanted to be Miss Texas. I just thought if I could be in the top 10, I could sing and dance on stage in front of a live audience on a broadcast. So went back a third year. I was Miss Waco, did not win. But I did get Best Variety Act. I mean, it's just, and then I went back a fourth year.
Wait, what was the act?
I sang and danced.
Singing, do you remember the song?
Oh gosh, I mean, I competed 6 times, so I don't really remember what I
wow.
did that year.
Okay.
That year I might have tap
That was
danced.
Waco. That was Miss Waco.
That was Miss Waco. Then I was Miss Rio Grande Valley.
What?
Then Miss Dallas, and then Miss Arlington again.
Arlington, Waco.
West Texas,
Arlington,
Waco, Rio Grande Valley, Dallas, and then Arlington again when I finally won.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long journey. I have the
crazy.
record for having competed the most times.
Now, do you have the sashes and the tiaras from all of those?
They're crowns,
Crowns.
not tiaras.
So, not tiaras. Okay, thank you for
So
that school.
I was in the late 90s, and that was when you didn't wear a sash. You just wore a
Okay.
crown on your head, and people wondered why you were wearing a crown on your head. So there was no
No,
explanation.
it didn't
for-
say Miss
Not
Waco.
then.
or
Now
anything?
they do.
Yeah.
No, that was the phase where you didn't wear a sash.
Okay.
So, but I do have the crown. I still have the crown. I pull it out every once in a while just to prove that it really was part of my reality.
Right. And what year did you win?
So I was Miss Texas in 1998, went to Miss
98.
America, competed at Miss America that next
Yeah.
year in Atlantic City. Super fun, did not win Miss America either. Came home, traveled around the whole state of Texas for a year.
Wow.
Really sort of developed my teeth, public speaking, and,
Right.
really enjoyed that piece of it.
What was the best experience about that?
About being Miss Texas?
Sure.
I mean, there were several. I won about $40,000 in scholarship money. So at that point, that was really important for our family. We could have never paid for my education and allowed me to be debt free. I got to go do an internship in Washington, D.C., which I never would have had the funding or the courage to do.
Wow.
Traveling the state of Texas was just remarkable. I mean, I'd mostly lived in West Texas, so I didn't know much about the rest of the state. So it was just awesome to go and meet different people who have different vocations and lifestyles, and their industry was much different than oil and gas. But I would say the best part was I traveled with a group of women. They were traveling companions. So when I was Miss Texas, you could not leave. You couldn't go anywhere on your own. So, I mean,
Right.
you had to have a traveling companion. And they were just the most delightful group of women. They taught me, about a lot of things. I learned to cook. I learned kind of what kind of wife I wanted to be, what kind of Christian I wanted to be. I learned so much from these just mostly retired, strong, philanthropic, volunteer-centered women. And it was very impactful to me.
Wow. What do you think is a misconception that people have either back then in the 90s or even today for women who are going through a pageant like that?
Yeah. I mean, it's the obvious stereotype that they're not smart or that they are all about attention. I think most of them are very smart. You don't get through a 12-minute interview about the topics that you have to be able to master without being smart.
Yeah.
And, just the idea that you're on stage in a swimsuit or in an evening gown. I mean, I do
Right.
understand that misconception. You wouldn't do that if if there wasn't something about the performance element to it that you enjoyed. But I think also that these women are driven. For a lot of us, including me, this is how I paid for school. And that sort of sounds like a great idea, but for a lot of us, it was the only way we got to do that. And there are many highly educated pageant winners, doctors and lawyers. In fact, the theme at UTPB where I work now is if you want work done, hire a news reporter or a former pageant girl because
Really?
they just know how to study and stay on top of things and get things done.
Wow. Now, do you keep in touch with, because you keep saying us, so I'm assuming there's a sorority of
There
the winners.
is.
Do you keep in touch with all of the ladies? And
I don't anymore. The first 10 or 15 years, probably the first 10 years after I was done, I emceed the pageant for several
Really?
years. And went back. I was, so kind of cool story. It was
Yeah.
my 25th anniversary as Miss Texas this last year. And a good friend from Midland, John Trischetti, started a scholarship in my name.
Wow.
An endowed scholarship. And so he was just so kind to me and, raised money on my behalf, and then we started this scholarship together.
That's cool.
So now each year, young women can apply for it. It's not for the winner of Miss Texas, but it's for those who live west of I-35, are majoring in journalism or communication,
Right.
a first-generation college student. You have to meet certain criteria, and then we interview them and then award them with a
Really?
scholarship. So
awesome.
I've gone back for some of the anniversary years, and then we do have a sisterhood sorority. So we do stay in touch. There's some really amazing women. We're not young. Now we're
Right.
middle-aged, but yeah.
Well, a lot of what you just told me, it was foreign to me. I didn't really understand that. The only context that I have of this is the movie Miss Congeniality, and I'm assuming that's not accurate.
It's not accurate.
It's not. Is this a
I mean,
favorite
imagine,
favorite
so
movie of yours?
I don't particularly love it. I don't
Really?
dislike it, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
25 years ago, there was no American Idol. There was no
Right.
So You Think You Can Dance. You have a dancer daughter.
Right.
That was my way of performing, really. I just wanted to sing and dance, and there really weren't that many opportunities. So for me, that was that outlet. Now, would I do it again 25 years later? Probably not. I'd probably be doing many of the things that,
Right.
dancers today do, competitions and tours and things. But at that time, it was, pageants or cruise ships. So
Right. That's a great perspective. That was your outlet and platform to show off your skill set.
Yeah,
and
studied
what God had
dance my
gifted
whole
you
life,
in. So
right.
that's awesome. All right, I do have to ask you before we go into your time at CBS 7.
Yeah.
Can you teach me the wave?
yes.
Is there a specific movement?
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
there is no actual wave,
I
but
gotta know this. Okay.
so when I was Miss Texas, one of your jobs is you travel around, you talk to
Right.
students. So the funny thing to do would be, to get a young boy student up and teach him the wave, because
Right.
everybody giggles when you teach a boy
Sure.
the wave. But I would teach them elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, wrist. Got that?
Okay, am I doing it?
Elbow,
Yeah,
wrist,
okay.
wrist, wrist.
Yeah.
Touch your pearls, wipe your cheek, and switch.
And switch.
And switch.
So you do
elbow,
elbow,
wrist, wrist,
wrist,
wrist.
wrist. Touch the pearls.
Wipe your
wipe
cheek.
your cheek,
And
switch.
You got it.
Oh my goodness,
Perfect.
that's
and that is not a real thing. You just wave, but
Just do it.
That's
So
funny,
yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for that.
You're
I
welcome.
feel like I'm going to show that off to all my friends now.
Use
So,
it. They'll
yes,
thank
I'm
you
going to
back.
see if I can get some miles out of it. All right. So from the pageantry season, you
Mm-hmm.
left that. Did that lead you into your time at CBS 7? Could you walk me through that journey?
Yeah, not immediately. So I took a job right after Miss Texas at Dallas Summer Musicals. So that's where Summer Stock Theater is.
Yes, yes.
And I was a marketing
Didn't know
manager there.
this.
Yeah, I loved it. It was a great first job. And I actually met the CEO there, Michael Jenkins,
Mm-hmm.
who it went on to produce Broadway shows, but his foray started in Dallas.
Right.
Met him when I was Miss Texas, and so he said, look, I think, I'd love to work with you. Come back when you want a job. And of course, I needed a job right after Miss Texas. So I did that for about 9 months. And in that time, John Bushman bought CBS 7.
Okay. Right.
And John and I have known each other for a long time because his youngest son, Jason, and I are near the same age. And we grew up at the same schools, and he was also a performer. So we knew each other from that era. And I had been back to Odessa before I took the marketing job. I had been back to Odessa at all 3 stations to try to get a job.
Right.
Nobody would hire me because I didn't have a tape, I didn't have a reel, I didn't have any proof. And at that time, you sort of had to earn your keep.
Okay.
But when John bought the TV station, he knew me. He knew I was interested, and he met me in Dallas at Dallas Love Field and said, "I bought a TV station. I really think you should come home." And we signed the contract right there at Love Field.
Really?
Yeah. I was engaged at the time. Hadn't talked to Brad about it, so it was really a leap of faith. And bless Brad for putting up with it. But I trusted John, and this is really what I had wanted to do for a long time and tried it unsuccessfully. So it was an open door to me. And I intended to only be here for about 3 years. I really wanted to come home,
Really?
start my career, and I wanted to move up into larger markets like most people do.
Sure. But you invested 18 years, right?
18 years.
18 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure somewhere along the line there was a on-air misstep or something. Do you have any stories where you said something or needed
I mean,
to
there are lots
cut
of,
it?
yeah, there are a lot. Well, you don't get to cut it. It's a little
Yeah,
bit like
sure, it's
this. You're
live.
recording
Yeah.
live. So in most cases, you don't get to cut. You know, one of the things you will know about me if you know me well, I have a terrible memory. So it's hard. I don't remember all of the things. Jay Hendricks can remember anything. So
Right.
if he's had a flub, so our TV station was in the mall. So the concept when they built the TV station was for it to be glassed in so that people could see the magic, watch the process.
Yeah.
So I've had all kinds. I've had people flash me the front side of their bodies. I've had people moon me the back
What?
side of their
Are
bodies.
you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
All of those things have happened. You've seen people get in a fight outside of the windows. You work in a mall, you see
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
In fact, now I'm told that they have those covered up, that you don't actually watch
Really?
anymore.
I haven't been to the Odessa Mall in quite some time.
Well, I
so-
haven't either in a
yeah.
while, at least down by
Yeah.
the TV station. But, I've sneezed, I've coughed, I've gotten the hiccups, I've gotten the giggles, I've
Right.
said things that were inappropriate, not intentionally, but something
Right.
comes out that's not the word you intended for it to be.
Are these on YouTube anywhere we can find?
I don't think so. I mean, it was early in my career, mostly
Yeah.
before you had the ability to just pop that right up on
Right.
social media. I am so glad that I, don't live in this day and age on TV.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
now any mistake is,
Sure.
you're stuck with it forever.
Sure. What was it like sitting in that chair every night speaking to people in the Permian Basin?
Wonderful. I mean, for the first 15 or so years of my career, I loved being a journalist. I loved every second of being able to tell important stories and having people trust me to walk them through some of the saddest times in our community and brightest times. I loved working with Jay Hendricks. I was a reporter while I was a news anchor. When I first started, you were supposed to work your way up to be an anchor. And I was
Right.
very lucky that Mr. Bushman just trusted that I could do it. So I didn't have to learn how to do those things, but I insisted that I could because I didn't want anybody to say I didn't deserve to be there. So it was important to me to learn how to be a reporter, learn how to edit my own pieces, write my own stories. I did not have to. I did not shoot my own stuff. Now, if you're a journalist, you are almost always a one-man band.
Really?
Now you have to. Their cameras. When I started, the cameras were this big. Now the cameras are like
Yeah.
your phone.
Small. Yeah.
But I never shot my own stuff. But I wrote it, edited it, produced it, concepted it,
Wow.
and that was important to me. And I'm most proud of the awards that I won for storytelling. I had a chance to win several of those over the years, and I don't say that to go, I'm a winner, but it was one of those sort of insecurity things for me getting into the business, and then
Really?
insisting that I was able to show my value.
Did you overcome, because you said your fear or insecurities there, was there a moment that you said, I can really do this and I've succeeded and I've moved forward in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think once you've done something for that many times, what is it that one of the authors says that you do something a certain number of times before you're an expert? I mean, if you do
Yeah.
5 newscasts
Over
a
and
day,
over and over,
you
yeah.
are, you get comfortable. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I left TV, honestly. There were multiple reasons, but one of them was that, I could do the news and text during commercial breaks and barely, I just thought this is not the standard I want to live up to.
Wow.
It just sort of felt like autopilot toward the end. And so it was time to move on. But did I ever feel like I had just, gotten there, arrived? I don't know that you ever feel quite that way. I mean, I was
Yeah.
always nervous. Reading a produced newscast was not super hard, but going live or breaking news,
Right.
that was always the really exciting time. Like that's when your juices get flowing and you get, that sort of nervous energy because you don't know what you're going to say and you don't know what the details how they're going to unfold. And, you can't manufacture that. You just
Right.
sort of have to go with it.
Did you have a favorite person you interviewed?
Well, President Bush, certainly
yeah.
ranks up there. I would interview all the politicians who came through. Henry Winkler was
Really?
delightful, and I did an interview with him before a fundraiser. And
Was
he
that here?
Here in Midland,
Okay,
yes. And
yeah.
he was fantastic. those three stick out to me. I mean, I have a really bad memory, so people ask this a lot.
I forgot. You said you have bad memory, so
I do.
yeah.
So people ask a lot, and I had lots of fun opportunities, but I mostly remember, unfortunately, the sad or hard stories that I had to tell. Yeah, that's what just sort of sticks in my mind.
Well, I don't want to talk about any of those because I don't want to get emotional or anything. So, okay, so you walked away after 18 years, and that was a hard decision, easy decision? Was that something that God just made plain to you? Did he already have the next step in your journey, or did you just step out of that and go, I have no idea what's next?
Well, God had been telling me it was time for a change for a while, and I had been had selected hearing. You know, I just didn't see a path forward.
Right.
You know, when you do something for so long, it really becomes your identity. And I think particularly in that business, you know, what was really exciting about the news business the last few years was I started a lifestyle show called Studio 7, which was so much fun. I mean, it was learning something new. It was, you know, a breath of fresh air content-wise. It taught me a lot of things. You know, I don't know how to cook. It taught me to cook a little. I'm not great at decorating. I had a segment on decorating. You know, if I had a question about child rearing, we brought on guests to talk about child rearing. Right. So that was wonderful. But it was absolutely time. You know, to go from being privately owned to being corporately owned was a big change for me. I didn't always align with the corporate values. Right. So that's one way I knew it was time. And then just the nature of news stories. You know, I spent a lot of time reading court cases or affidavits or just all the sad details about that. And I just got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. Wow. So what actually happened is I met Sandy Woodley, who's the president of the university, about a year before I made any kind of a change. But I knew instantly when I met her, there is something really special about what she has planned for this region and what she's doing. And I think I need to get on that train.
Right.
And then the opportunity just opened up. She needed someone who was established in the community to be her chief of staff and lead her communication and marketing strategies, which had been, you know, not very well developed for many years. And so she, you know, asked me to come work with her, and I finally got the courage to take the leap of faith and just make the change. And I've never looked back. I've not regretted it for one moment.
Really? Well, I hear great things about the university. I know it made some strides in the football program and the athletic program and the tuition program and all of those. Yeah. What is the highlight for you right now that you're able to put your fingerprints on?
So just for the university in itself, you know, all of those things, here's what I believe. I love West Texas. This is home for me. I think the Permian has so much potential, and I think there are decades ahead of us where we are going to be very prosperous. I think all the research, all the data, all the exploration proves that out. But the one thing that could, or one of the things that could really stand in our way is if we are not able to meet workforce needs, recruit talent to come to this area. And so I believe the university plays a critical role in that. You know, you think about what Lubbock would be without Texas Tech, or what Waco would be without Baylor. I mean, I think UT Permian Basin has a chance to really do that. And so we have a huge population of people who have never thought about going to college. I count myself as one of those people. It just wasn't how our family really thought. And we have examples of a lot of people out here who didn't necessarily have to go to college, and they've still done really well with their lives. They have, you know, they've provided for their families. They have great occupations. And I want to be clear, I don't think everybody needs a 4-year college degree.
Sure.
I truly believe there are a lot of people who, we need service professionals, and we need those people who have trade and tech skills. I don't think a 4-year degree is for everyone. But I do think there are a lot of people who, if they were provided the opportunity to pursue their college education, their lives would be different. Generationally, their lives could be different. Because I do think you think about your opportunities and your options differently when you've put forth the effort to earn a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree. It's almost, I do think you learn valuable skills and ways of thinking. You grow up, but it's almost that sort of self-fulfilling prophecy too. When you accomplish that, you feel differently about yourself. So I get excited that we can offer any family who makes $100,000 or less free tuition. That's crazy.
That's amazing.
It's like 73% of our population in the Permian Basin. that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's how we change generations of families. I do get excited that we are the Lone Star Conference champions in football because that makes the collegiate experience so much fun. If you have not been to a UTPB, right now I'm super into girls basketball. We are killing it in girls basketball. There's nothing more fun than watching these college students put their heart and soul into this and do well. So, it's really important. And the research that we're doing, I didn't really even know how that enterprise worked, honestly. I used to hear news stories about researchers from this campus or this school have, discovered this or that. That's really happening. And at UT Permian Basin, it's very much applied around oil and gas.
Right.
So we work with industry partners and we solve problems and explore opportunities. And I just think that's such a cool way to have an impact on the region.
I need to do a little bit more of a deep dive into that because I remember when we moved, it was 2007, there seemed to be a negative image of UTPB. It was always the stepchild of the big school in Austin. That was the perception that I had received. And I knew people who went to other UTP or University of Texas branches, San Antonio and stuff. And it just seemed like it was lower tier. Now the image seems to be it's standalone. It's its own animal. It's its own thing. Am I seeing that right? Just from being an outsider looking in?
A few things. We just turned 50 years old at UT Permian Basin.
Really?
We are literally a toddler when compared to other universities. So, and we've only had freshmen. So we started off as just a junior and senior school, 73 to about 92. We got our first class of freshmen, I believe it was either 91 or 92. So that's not very long to be a traditional four-year university.
Yeah.
So when you look at even, for sure, UT Austin. It's the flagship. It's a very important part of our economic engine in this state. But even when you look at our counterparts at UT Dallas or Tyler, they're still far older than we are.
Right.
So that's one thing. We also are blessed in this region to have two really strong community colleges, Odessa College and Midland College. We partner with them a lot. I'm a product of one of those schools. And, they filled the gap that a traditional four-year university could have filled all those years. So we have, really strong partners there. A lot of students chose those pathways versus UT Permian Basin because there just wasn't that history or culture. So I do think those things are changing. I think as our athletics programs get better and, more families just really understand you are part of the University of Texas system, whether you're a Red Raider or an Aggie or, Longhorn, to be part of that kind of system that really has a name recognition, it's quality, and then the value for your education. You have college kids. I have one in college, one about to go to college, and you just keep asking where's that magical school that's not too big, not too small, not $1 billion, but also has quality. I really like to market UT Permian Basin in that niche because that's who we are. We're kind of a Goldilocks school. Wow. And a lot of people are just sort of starting to discover that, which is really fun.
And you're chief of staff.
I am.
So I'm assuming you have a team under you, right, that you lead.
I do. Yeah.
What is your leadership style like?
So we talk a lot about we. My leadership pet peeve is probably I, me. So my style would be pretty we-centered.
We-centered, yeah, okay.
I like really clear and consistent feedback. I think the people under whom I have thrived, the leaders who have helped me really get better and be better, haven't been afraid to tell me what I'm doing differently, what I could do differently, what I'm doing wrong, how I could be better, on a really clear and consistent way. And I think that's really hard, particularly for women, because you don't want to be rude or you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But as a leader, that's our job to offer clear, consistent feedback in real time in many cases. And so I've gotten much better at that, and I think my team would say they appreciate that about my leadership style. And then I really care about them. I care about the people who work on my team. I know they have families. I know they have stresses and issues outside of what they're doing to help us be better at UT Permian Basin. And so, flexibility, I think, is an important piece of that as well. But, I would say I've learned from some of the best leaders. I think Sadie Woodley, our president, is an outstanding leader. I think, people like Barry Marks and John Bushman, who I used to work for, taught me so much about being a great leader. There's nobody who cared about me beyond just what I did on TV than John Bushman. He cared about our lives financially. He cared about our lives spiritually. He still calls and prays with me to this day. When my father passed away, John Bushman is the person who prayed with me over the phone. I think about leaders like Tracy Bentley, who leads the PSP in Midland, and Mayor Lori Blong, fellow women who are, again, models of being strong and can manage being feminine at the same time and accomplished. So I'm really leaning into those kinds of people.
Wow. So you mentioned you have one daughter in college.
Yes.
And one about to go to college.
Yeah.
You recently went to visit the one in college, right?
Firstborn, yes.
So the firstborn, and she was in the UK.
She was.
Right. So what was that experience like? Is it the first time you ever been over to London?
First time we've been to London. So I should preface this by saying my oldest daughter both my daughters are remarkable, as all of our children are.
Of course they are, yes.
But my oldest daughter is really, really smart, like valedictorian, full ride scholarship smart.
That kind of smart.
She's really smart and really driven, knows exactly what she wants to do with her life. Well, she went to London 6 weeks early and then backpacked across Europe by herself.
Wow. Who sits at your table? Who do you listen to? Who gets to pour into? I know you said John Bushman earlier.
Yeah.
Who pours into you?
Well, unfortunately, some of the people I just mentioned, I kind of stole the credit there. So Colin Sewell is one of my really childhood best friends. We went to high school together. We actually weren't super close in high school, but I met his lovely wife, Megan, who is one of my favorite human beings. And then our kids are about the same age, so we really have done life together.
Right.
And he is, as many people who will hear this know, he's just a remarkable leader. He really has matured into someone who can guide you through a situation, can offer advice, can help you process the right and wrong way to accomplish things. And he's just been so darn successful. Made some mistakes, owned up to them, really, found how his faith works through that puzzle. And so literally, he and his family and a few other of my close friends sit at the table and talk about all kinds of issues. So he has literally poured into me on multiple occasions.
What's your go-to snack on an airplane?
Ooh, I love flips. Do you know what flips are?
Yes.
Chocolate-covered pretzels are my.
I would have never guessed
What
that.
did you think it would be?
Not that one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it'd be like maybe like Chex Mix or something,
Sweet.
something.
I like sweet.
You're sweets. Okay.
I'll do savory, but I like sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. In the opening, Chris and I were talking about Uber. He took an Uber from here to get his car. Have you taken Uber in West Texas?
No.
Now, you probably have taken it in like Dallas
Tons
and
of Ubers
New
everywhere
York or
else.
wherever, big cities, but
But why would you need to?
I don't know if I would trust it.
Oh,
here.
I would totally trust it.
Yeah, or why you
What
would
would
need
you
it
be
here.
afraid of?
I don't know. It's just me. I'm just afraid of everything.
I mean,
right?
I just, and people here, if I need a ride, you could go, hey, come get me. Or I'm just always, I'm rarely without a car. I guess if you had car trouble but
Because I said at the beginning, I said, our guest today is probably somebody who would pick me up if I needed a ride.
I would do that.
And Chris was like, nobody's going to pick you up. So he doesn't have a mic over there, so which is good. But who would play you in a movie?
Who would I want to play me?
That or who? Because I know, I have my guess of who would play you in a movie.
This would never happen because
Yeah.
this just never happened. I would want Reese Witherspoon to play.
That's
She's
exactly what I
Southern.
said.
She's Southern. She's
Yes.
So this is funny. So I got a new car for the first new car in a
Did you
long
read my
time.
notes?
No, I didn't.
Okay, because that's exactly who I said.
So I got a new car. You know what my car's name is? Reese Witherspoon, because she's a girl boss. My car.
Oh my gosh.
So she's my favorite.
Wait,
so,
you named your car?
I named all my cars. Sure.
Okay, give me a couple of the names.
So one of my car was Ruby. Guess what color? Red.
Red.
My last car was Betty White.
White.
And also just sort of older.
And this one's
and
Reese
Reese
Witherspoon?
Witherspoon, because she's a girl boss. It's
What
only
color
new car
is
I've ever
it?
had. It's a Lincoln
It's a Lincoln.
Nautilus. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You should name your car.
No, you don't want to name
should
my
think
car.
about
It's
what you
trash.
name your car.
That would be the name of my
Trashy names can
trash.
have a car.
Yeah, but I immediately when I wrote that question
Trashy cars
down,
can have a name. I said that
you
wrong.
should have. When I wrote that question down, I was like, it's Reese Witherspoon without a doubt.
Well, thank you. It's the
Yeah.
Southern. It's the Southern in it.
That and the look and the personality and the bubbly and the exciting and just it just seems like a fascinating person to be around, and you are a fascinating person to be around. All right, my last question, just to kind of wrap this up now that I have my voice back after that little episode there. What do you, Tatum Hubbard, Fulbright Hubbard, whatever the name is, what does Tatum want to be known for?
I want to have an impact on people's lives. You know, I that sounds a little cliche to say outside, but certainly my children, my daughters, the people who are close in our inner circle, my family, my sweet mom is still here. I want to impact her, and certainly she has impacted me so much. So impact, and then I think adding perspective. You know, one of the things I used to love about the news business, one of the reasons I left, was that my job was to not judge or not make a determination or a decision for you, but just to present facts and offer some perspective on reality. And, you know, I feel like we've lost a little bit of perspective. You know, you either have to be a far right Republican or a far left liberal, or, you know, there's just sort of no middle piece. And so the perspective is, you know, gosh, if there was no compromise in our families or at work, how would we ever get through the day? You know, you have to have enough perspective to be willing to find where you're willing to compromise. Sometimes you don't. I think sometimes there is no compromising, but most times it will be required for, you know, just for us to live a harmonious life.
Wow. Well, thank you for your time. This has been great. When I had it on the list, I was like one of my top ones that I cannot wait to visit with. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Please give my hello to Brad and the girls. And next time you go to London, make sure you hit me up because I've got a great place.
I
you
wish
could
I would have
visit
known
there.
sooner.
So, yeah, it's a great place.
get your
But
recommendations.
thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate our friendship and what you're doing at UTPB. I think it's phenomenal and it's great, and look forward to some great things. What's next for you?
So I feel the need to get back into a little bit of what I used to do, where I had a little bit more of a personal voice, not a voice for a brand, the university.
Yeah.
So I'm playing around with some concepts about, as we talked about, like what's the middle of your life look like? You know, not the part you talk about starting your family or retiring, or you know, the middle of your career. We know how to start a career and we know how to work up the ladder, but what about that messy middle part? I feel like that's what sort of the Lord is speaking to me, is to talk about the messy middle, when a lot of people don't want to talk about that part or don't know how
True.
to. So that's
Fearful, yeah.
next, yeah.
Wrist,
Start with the
Elbow.
elbow, wrist, wrist.
wipe,
Pearls,
cheek,
cheek.
switch. Thank you, Tatum. Thank you for joining with us, and we will see you all next week.
Elevate your operation with Performance Chemical Company, the pioneers in redefining chemical solutions for the oil and gas industry in the Permian Basin. Unveiling groundbreaking ideas since 2017, our dry chemistry plant stands as a testament to innovation. Our products and services revolutionize water treatment, production, midstream, and saltwater disposals. We're your strategic partners in optimizing investments, slashing operating expenses. Performance Chemical Company. How you get there matters.